Hi everyone, I'm Eileen Russlin from Page 6, coming to you from Cannes, France, and I have the pleasure of being today with Brady Corbet and Dad Carbassian. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I mean, we're in lovely Cannes, France, so how do you guys feel? Have you guys been able to enjoy Cannes Lion a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think this is Brady's first, he's been to Cannes many times, this is his first Cannes Lion, so I'm dragging him through this for better or for worse, but it's been, it's full on. I haven't been for a few years myself, but it's the scale of it, and yeah, it's just, yeah, it's actually great. There's so many amazing people here, and it's a great opportunity for us. So we launched a new business quite recently. Brady's and I have been on a journey together, and yeah, it's a good opportunity to meet people from the sort of brand world. And yeah, we got a pretty crazy schedule. So we're only one day in, and Brady's like, okay.
Have you been able to squeeze in any fun, or is it all work? Because there's some cool concerts and stuff going on.
Today we're gonna squeeze in some fun.
Tell us about it.
Well, we're going to the Hotel du Cap,
Fancy.
Hitchcock style.
Hitchcock style. We were on the island yesterday, on the island with WPP, which was actually great.
Beautiful.
Really nice to
Yeah,
be
it's
sort of
insanely
away.
beautiful.
And Brady was doing a talk there, and yeah, no, it's just been really good. You know, it's like it's nice, and my background, you know, I was working in advertising for sort of years and years and years before I turned to film
So you're around
production.
your people.
So yeah, and actually seeing you know, I moved to LA about 10 years ago, and so there's so many people I haven't seen that, and I was saying to Brady, all these people who were sort of interns at BBH, where I sort of started like 15 years ago now, but who are now CEOs of all these companies and like running like so. It's
their journey.
It's
You give them a
amazing,
little
and
pat
it's
on the
yeah,
back.
and it's just
That's
it's
nice.
a really it's just a really nice group of people, and I think that's the thing I was saying to Brady is, and you know, in advertising, there's a lot of very creative, very ambitious, very intelligent, but also really good people, you know, like, so it's been really nice.
It's definitely a great melting pot of people too at this particular event, because we got entertainment space, tech, sports athletes. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So you both are here on behalf of Magna Studios.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what sets this studio apart from other film companies.
So Magna Studios, I think, is, you know, we launched 18 months ago. We never did any press or anything, so this is the first time we're really talking about it. I think
Exciting.
we deliberately wanted to just make some work and let the work be our noise, rather than sort of tell people what we're doing and you know, sort of just talking the talk. So we really wanted to build purpose-built like a studio for the future, really. You know, in a time where there's just so much change. You know, the sort of those lines between platforms, formats, services are all completely dissolving, and I think what we wanted to do, you know, we're a company, we're multidisciplinary, so which is quite unique in this space. So we have a footprint in advertising. We're also really leaning into entertainment, and really interested in that space in between, and sort of taking brands into the entertainment world, and bringing the world of entertainment, bringing amazing artists into the brand world as well. So yeah, it's the idea really with Magna is to create a unique destination for talent. You know, we have a roster of filmmakers, you know, big award-winning filmmakers like Brady, as well as emerging talent that we've really kind of been on a journey with, since making music videos in their bedroom to developing their first film. There's one filmmaker called Oscar Hudson who, we've just been on that journey. We're doing music videos together, made commercials, was here picking up the Grand Prix for a Nike commercial in COVID. Well, actually, wasn't here because it was COVID, but he won a big fancy award.
Yeah, I really do everything by code.
Yeah.
Just want to make that clear.
and then now he developed his first film and just shot his first movie, and I think having that more holistic relationship with artists and talent is what's really interesting to us, and bringing, you know, Brady's obviously someone who, you know, been such a big fan of for so long, and made, in my opinion, I think one of the most extraordinary movies of our generation, and then, you know, him sort of really kind of, you know, he moves on to his next sort of Herculean project next year, but in between had some space, and so we're exploring a few projects that are, I think, are really interesting.
What can you tell us about it? What kind of projects? Anything you could tease? I know you probably can't tell us much, but
I mean, there's a few projects we're working with. Everything's obviously very confidential. We're working on a music video potentially with a brand. We're working with a fashion brand, doing something, you know, highly artistic. So there's a few conversations. I think, again, we do a lot of commercials, like, you know, TV commercials, and, you know, at best, and I was sort of taking Brady on this whistle-stop tour. You know, I grew up making commercials at BBH with directors like Spike Jonze and Michel Gondry, and for brands like Levi's, and you know, where the commercials were part of the culture, you know, that MTV generation. And I think increasingly advertising is sitting on the fringe of culture, to be honest. Like, you know, everyone's doing everything they can to avoid advertising, or when they are
forced, also inundated with it too.
Or they, you know, they
days,
turn to a different screen if, you know, the screen they're watching is that. So I think we're really interested in exploring, working with brands that really want to embrace a more advertising mindset and sort of, you know, invest in stories, in IP, in working with, you know, like really interesting filmmakers, and then, you know, creating a more meaningful and I think more rewarding, you know, relationship with their audience over time. And so,
amazing,
we have a number of projects going through, and you know, one of them is actually a feature film we're developed, which is actually funded by a brand, you know, and again, it's a really interesting partnership.
It's a really smart business model, and I definitely want to dive into that a little bit more. But first, I want to ask you, what drew you to being part of the studio?
Well, I mean, you know, I was having conversations with different folks, and I just really connected with Dav. It was sort of as simple as that. I have spent many years trying to break into advertising because, as you know, I mean, like David Lynch, Wong Kar-wai, and many of the most significant filmmakers, at least, you know, for me, they were working a lot in advertising. It's an extraordinary way to, you know, meet crews that you wouldn't have the opportunity to work with otherwise, whether that's a cinematographer, a first AD, a designer. And then, like, the big thing for me is honestly just that my films, they take many years to make, and I will, you know, I think if I'm very lucky, I'll make maybe a dozen films in my lifetime. So I am very grateful to have any opportunity to keep the machine well oiled, and to, I mean, also, you know, you have a unique set of challenges. You have, you know, even gear that you wouldn't work with if you didn't have the opportunity to. I mean, visual effects, et cetera, et cetera. It's an extremely beneficial way to keep learning, which is, you know, I always say to everyone, of course I'm a filmmaker, but I'm first and foremost the first viewer, and I'm always just trying to keep evolving, keep adapting.
I think a quote that you said recently on a podcast, and you've been very transparent about how independent filmmaking translates to finances, et cetera. You said something along the lines of, like, you didn't know if 8 years of torment kind of equates to 4 months of success, or if it's worth it. Do you still feel that way? I mean, it seems like you're diving into projects.
I absolutely feel that way. I mean, it's an incredibly difficult job. It's a privilege to do the job, but it's complex for so many reasons. It's managerial. I mean, you are responsible for 250 or 300 people's livelihoods, and if you're an empath that really cares about how your team is doing, it can be incredibly draining. And then, you know, movies, they come together, they fall apart. They come together, they fall apart. And if it's something you really, you've put all of yourself into, it's devastating, you know, to watch everything go back into the box. I mean, I'm very fortunate that, you know, anyone is showing up to watch the films that I make, especially considering how radical they are. So it's also, you know, great fortune, great privilege. But no, of course, it's been a tough decade and change making the films that my wife and I make.
Yeah, and something that I found that was interesting, I think a lot of people, it's an open secret in independent filmmaking, I guess, the business model, and how you don't really see that return immediately. But for a lot of people that didn't know that, I'm curious to know, has that changed at all? Like, have you been able to see that residual back yet, or?
I mean, listen, I think that, of course, a film success gives you new opportunities to make more movies,
That's
work on more ads and on the theme of the Cannes Lions here. But, it is strange that filmmakers in general, if a film is incredibly successful, and unless the deal is structured from the very beginning, they have very, very meaningful back-end participation. They don't see anything in the form of a paycheck. If you work on something for 8 years, when you start doing the math on a fee, if you're lucky enough to not have to reinvest your fee into a film, the reality is that you're making less than minimum wage.
Wow.
I mean,
how do you survive on something like that?
You hustle. And you do a lot of, gigs in between. And my wife and I are very lucky that we both write screenplays for various studios and independent financiers, but we're never not working. I mean, we work 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Wow.
And of course, that's not sustainable forever. I'm 36 years old. But biologically, I'm probably hovering around 50.
I'm the exact same age as you, and I get it. We're starting to feel it. It's not the same as it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's also what we're trying to do. It's tough. It's tough to make an independent movie and to do like Brady does.
That's why I think it's so smart what you guys are doing with the brands, because bringing that in, I'm sure that has to help a little bit of the financial backing.
I think it's also, Brady's obviously interested in diversifying his output. What's that?
Oh, no, just a little closer to
sorry. Diversifying his output, but also, with our filmmakers trying to diversify their income, trying to also be supportive. Because we make documentaries, we make scripted movies, we make music videos, and we also have, we have financing and sort of we can help talent sort of develop and sort of get behind them.
The question, how do you avoid, like a film? Because a music video, maybe it's quicker and it's more seamless. But how do you avoid a film coming across as like a too much product placement, too much of an ad when you are, because there's the expectation, right, from the brand side. They're going to want as much spotlighting, I'm sure, of their products or whatever as possible. But so that balance, talk to me about that.
No, it's a really good question. I mean, to be honest, product placement is just another form of interruption, and so yes, sometimes you can seamlessly integrate a product into a story and it kind of just works. In other times, we've seen Barbie, the Lego movie, where you're creating world, universe. But I think there's an interesting space in between where brands can participate in storytelling, backing filmmakers, and just being a part of the journey and investing in that kind in the creative storytelling and being connected to it in a way that you're not disrupting or breaking the spell, because nobody wants to kind of see the brands sort of
drive the narrative or anything.
And I think brands are becoming really sophisticated. They're really understanding that and need to build sort of new relationships and more meaningful relationships with their audiences. So we're actually seeing, branded entertainment's not a new phrase. It's something that's, Cannes Lions has been a topic here for 10, maybe 20 years. But I actually think we're in a really sweet spot where brands that can embrace a more entertainment mindset and understand what comes with that can really kind of build a much more meaningful relationship with their audience in the long term. So yeah, it's especially like fashion brands, tech brands, brands that are not selling you necessarily a specific product. It's
a more seamless transition or merge.
Yeah, exactly.
So another topic that has been a hot topic here at Cannes Lions is the use of AI. So I'm curious, at Magna Studios, how do you see that being incorporated into your projects?
Well, I mean, being really honest, we're in the kind of educational phase of AI. But, so we're both spending a lot of time meeting people, learning about the technologies and the tools that are available. I think what's extraordinary is, the more we're talking and meeting people and seeing these demos and a lot of people reaching out to Brady, and he can tell you his sort of experience with it, because once you get the artists on their hands on those tools, we're all seeing what AI can do in a very kind of Yeah, in a very functional way, but
Yeah.
actually using the tools in an artistic way is what's really interesting. And look, it's extraordinary. The tools out there, and we're already embracing a lot of tools in the VFX space, and also in helping us develop ideas, showcase ideas. So I think it's really, really exciting. Obviously, there's a discipline that needs to be in place, you know, and we're talking to people now who can really kind of show you their working, the chain of title, so you're not muddying the water about what you know,
Yeah,
IP.
there are companies that are, you know, working ethically, and there are companies that are
aren't.
not. And so, you know, we are, you know, only interested in working with the companies that are working ethically. But more importantly, right now, it's just an investigation. We are obliged as, you know, filmmakers to explore every tool which is available to us. And if a tool is the best tool you can use that was engineered 100 years ago, like a film camera, then fantastic. Or if it's something which is absolutely cutting edge, then fantastic as well. I mean, it's always going to require, you know, the artisanal skill of a human being that's at
Right.
the helm of these things to really.
Hopefully. We never know. With the tech, right? If we get so advanced.
It's rapidly evolving.
Yeah.
But listen, for me, it's like this. You know, Crate and Barrel did not put ceramicists out of business. You know, like of course you can buy something at IKEA, you know, that's a stack of 12 to you know, furnish your, like, you know, dorm room, but that doesn't take away from the beauty and eccentricity and specificity of a wabi-sabi ceramic. So I am personally not concerned. I'm excited.
So you don't think it might, because a lot of people, the main concern seems to be as to how it would affect livelihoods, right? Jobs. So what do you think about that?
But this is like what happened, you know, when with you know, the advent of photography. Everyone was concerned that, you know, that people would no longer be interested in painting, when in fact it gave, you know, birth to impressionism and abstraction. I mean, we're talking about silent film's transition into the talkies in the 1930s. I think that everyone running around like chickens with their heads cut off is not really very helpful.
Also, yeah.
And it's important to remain curious. And listen, it's going to take a long time for us to regulate these things.
Yes.
But people, I think, more people than not, that I'm having discussions with on the topic are really interested in regulating this immediately.
And it's also, I think, a bit of a myth that AI is someone sitting at a computer pressing a button and doing the work
That's
of
not
thousands
how
of
it
people.
works.
Where the companies that we've met and talked to, like, you know, Brady described this place is like a beehive. There's hundreds of people in new jobs, and again, just like there's companies that are doing it the right way and perhaps being less disciplined, there's also the artists that, you know, there's people have stolen IP and stolen ideas for forever, but
That's
there's
a good
also
point.
people
There's
who
human beings doing that kind of
there's
stuff,
you
yeah.
know, there's a kind of discipline to creativity, and it will just move the medium on. I think, again, Brady and I were chatting, the tools are amazing. You know, some of these
Yeah.
tools are amazing, and for, you know,
They can
especially
really
in
just
independent,
enhance a person's work too.
yeah,
It's
and in
not replacing
independent
it.
cinema where it's hard to make a movie. I mean, Brady made one of, you know, a great movie for a very small budget in comparison to what a lot of these movies are. So
I make films in an extremely analog way. I mean, you know, we grade films photochemically. We shoot films on celluloid. But, you know, like AI has been a part of the workflow in sound and color for a decade. So it's also this kind of funny thing where everyone's talking about it as if it's something that's absolutely brand new.
It's been around for a while,
Well,
yeah.
of course, no, I mean, everyone has been using these tools, whether they know it or not.
They're just getting the PR now.
Correct.
yeah, exactly. And look, it will help, you know, as independent filmmakers, or as well, like, it'll allow us to kind of reduce the budget and make things that perhaps we wouldn't be able to make before. So
Everybody's happy with that.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
good thing. That's got to be a good thing.
And I want to ask you about an exciting project that you have in the works with
Oh, yeah.
the Oasis documentary. A
Oh, yeah.
lot of people are very hyped about that.
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
Not a lot, sadly, other than that we are very,
Give us
very
something,
excited
Dad.
to make the reunion story with the band, and it's a really interesting collaboration with filmmakers that we've again grown up working with through advertising, with Will and Dilla at 32 and Stephen Knight involved as well. But there isn't a lot that I can say. It's a highly NDA'd project, but for us, you know, our sort of background really in documentaries. You know, I've done a lot of documentaries over the years. To start Magna and launch something that's going to be this noisy and hopefully this kind of present in culture. It's an amazing story with the you know, them coming back together and going on a world tour. So it's going to be really exciting.
Can you tell us a little bit about why they wanted to do this at this point?
Not really. I don't. You know, I think it was the right time for them to do that and come back together. I don't know a lot about what their own kind of motives were for doing that. That's something really to ask the guys.
All right, I'm gonna have to get them on page 6 somehow. And Brady, can you tell us a little bit about anything that you've got coming up? He kind of teased it a little bit, that massive project.
Yeah, I mean, this year I'm working on a documentary about an artist named Saigo Chang, a fantastic Chinese visual artist that works with fireworks and drones, which we've been shooting on 70 millimeter. And next year, we're just my cinematographer and I were just in Los Angeles for camera tests. We're working on another large format narrative film that will start first quarter next year. We have a pre-shoot and then shooting the rest of the film in the summer.
How long do you expect that one to take?
A long time.
A long time.
I mean, hopefully not as long as the last
the Brutalist,
one.
yeah.
But you know, but also I'm very patient. It takes the time that it takes.
How do you keep yourself motivated during those periods when it's getting so long? Do you just always have the end in sight?
It's a good question. It's a compulsion. You know, I don't know what keeps me going other than my extraordinary family. At times there really is not a light in the dark. But you know, it's a compulsion to see things through. I have historically never started something that I didn't finish.
I saw you touched on family a little bit. You have a beautiful little girl, and I love
Thank
seeing
you.
her on the red carpet when you bring her to award shows. What's it like for her to kind of be a passenger through this experience with you?
You know, I'm so incredibly proud of my daughter. I mean, she's so funny, and she is incredibly sensible, much more sensible than I was at her age. And you know, I think that for her, this is how she's grown up. And so she really she appreciates the highs of this process, but she lives with me during the lows. And so
She's getting a real learning lesson.
Yeah,
in real time.
no, she's really got her head on straight. I expect her to do things that are much more impressive than me.
Well, she has it from both sides, right? From you and your wife,
Yeah.
your mom. So is she bitten by the entertainment bug, or?
It's a good question. I don't know. You know what? She was in the school musical, which she loved, and it's so funny, these productions at my daughter's school. They're like, do you remember Rushmore? Like they like
No,
so there are these sort of iconic, very ambitious performances in that in Rushmore. It reminds me of my kids' school.
Are you
there's,
watching the school play and
pyrotechnics.
noting they could have done this? Could you imagine having him in the audience? Oh my God!
I try to check that at the door, but beyond
Set expectations very low.
But beyond that, she's really passionate about painting.
Oh, very
and
nice.
and she's an extraordinary painter, which for me is like is hilarious because like I can't
Really can't draw a stick figure.
No, like literally, I mean it's pathetic.
That's so funny.
Yeah, she thinks I'm such
Maybe
a loser.
she gets it from your wife or something. Some genes there.
Mona's better than I am, but our daughter's extremely good.
Exciting. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's so sweet. And thank you both so much for coming. And I know there's so much going on. So fitting us into your schedule, we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having
having
me.
It was
us.
lovely. Thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate it.